This is Indonesia, a land of immeasurable diversity, a land that offers vast opportunities. This is the nexus of hopes and aspirations from across the archipelago.
Bersama, kami berikan kontribusi nyata lewat inovasi, karya cipta, dan pencapaian lain sesuai bidang ilmu. Dari UI, untuk Indonesia yang toleran, unggul, dan bermartabat.
Welcome to Universitas Indonesia. Since our beginnings, Universitas Indonesia has been continually evolving and building upon our achievements. We have become the biggest, best, and leading university in Indonesia and also Asia. Here at Universitas Indonesia, the best and brightest from across the region come to study. From diverse backgrounds, we build an intellectual community that enriches and enhances humanity. For superior generations, Universitas Indonesia provides world-class learning facilities. We implement state-of-the-art technology for research and industrial development. Our campus is accessible to all, also to the disabled. This is our commitment for realizing an inclusive educational environment. Universitas Indonesia is fully supported by environmentally friendly transportation and sustainable energy systems. We take pride in being a green and sustainable campus. Universitas Indonesia partners with relevant stakeholders to facilitate and provide ease of comfort for day-to-day activities for all our academic community. We recognize that each individual is unique, with unique talents and interests. As such, Universitas Indonesia provides opportunities for every individual to develop themselves to their fullest. Universitas Indonesia provides and fully supports students with great facilities and activities so that students are able to develop and grow to become their best. Together, we embrace our diversity to grow the future together. For Indonesia, for the world. Universitas Indonesia. Unity in diversity. Universitas Indonesia. Veritas, Probitas, Justitia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished speakers, our prominent guests, and our notable participants. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. My name is Adinda.
And I am Mutia. We will be your master ceremony of ITTP Covid-19 2022 for the next 3 days.
This teleconference will be conducted in 3 days from 6 to 8 August 2022. For our first meeting, we are very pleased to be able to welcome all of you. Welcome to the second ITTP Covid-19 2022.
Before today, this teleconference has undertaken a series of webinars that might interest you. If you are interested to watch our past webinar series, please visit our website on www.ittp2022.org or access the YouTube channel of Faculty of Public Health Universitas Indonesia at FKM UI.
As you may know, the International Teleconference on Technology and Policy in supporting implementation of COVID-19, or abbreviated as ITTP Covid-19, is a consortium initiated in 2021 involving 27 universities in the Southeast Asian region, supported by the Asian Secretariat and the Asian University Network.
This platform is forum for Asian community to build joint initiatives and synergize various strategies and recovery efforts after the COVID-19 pandemic in the Southeast Asia region. Again, we would like to inform you that this event is streaming on our YouTube channel as well. Please visit the Faculty of Public Health YouTube channel to watch it or to check our previous recorded events.
The Faculty of Public Health Universitas Indonesia is proud to be able to host this international teleconference today here at this wonderful event with all of you. Before we get started, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to our sponsor Novartis and Mandiri InHealth, which generously assist us make this event come together to become a success. Thank you to all of our sponsors which have supported us this far.
We also would like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Joko Widodo, the President of Indonesia, represented by Mr. Nadiem Anwar Makarim, Minister of Education and Culture, Dr. Brian Sri Prahastuti, the representative of Chief of Presidential Staff, Republic of Indonesia, Professor Ari Kunchoro, the Rector of Universitas Indonesia, Professor Datuk Dr. Ahmad Fauzi, the Vice Chancellor, University Technology Malaysia.
Dr. Ahmad Zafarullah Abdul Jalil, Director of ASEAN Integration Monitoring Directorate, or AIMD, ASEAN Secretariat. Dr. Nilash Buddha from WHO Southeast Asia Regional Office, Dr. Tan Kai Chuan from National University of Singapore, Asian Senior Official Meeting on Health Development Representatives, all honorable speakers, moderator, guests, and participants as well. Before we get started, we would like to inform our notable participants that the presentation will be started at 1 p.m. Jakarta time. We hope that you have sent your presentation video to the organizers, and please be ready at the breakout room during your presentation. For the schedule of your presentation, please check your email or see the conference book provided on our website. The question and answer session will be held after the presentation. After this, we would like to listen to the Indonesian National Anthem, Indonesia Raya.
Indonesia
you to ITTP Covid-19. The following video will be played and will give us insight about ITTP Covid-19 platform. The organizing committee, please play the video.
Ever since the start of the COVID-19 outbreak in late 2019, many countries around the world, including in the Southeast Asia region, have undergone difficulties and challenges. It is believed that COVID-19 recovery and survival could not be achieved and contained only within national boundaries due to Southeast Asian countries' interconnection. This has led to a group of experts with different backgrounds taking action by proposing activities involving Southeast Asian countries. This activity has established the Institute for Transformative Technologies and Policies in supporting implementation of COVID-19 response and recovery plan in Southeast Asia, which is called the ITTP Covid-19. ITTP Covid-19 provides a platform for academicians, governments, industry players, and non-governmental organizations to discuss research findings, research proposals, and experience in managing COVID-19 response and recovery plans in Southeast Asia. The first ITTP Covid-19 was successfully conducted in 2021 during ASEAN Day. Next, the second ITTP will be conducted virtually from 6 until 8 August 2022 with health, social economy, and technology as the three major topics. Universitas Indonesia will host the second ITTP 2022 and has appointed Faculty of Public Health as the main committee. This event is organized by 32 top universities in Southeast Asia, collaborating with government, stakeholders, research centers, and international organizations in Southeast Asia. ITTP Covid-19 activities consist of ASEAN leader sharing, scientific paper presentation, ASEAN policy group discussion, product exhibition, and ASEAN tourism and culture exposure. We strongly believe that ITTP Covid-19 is the best platform to address and to discuss the issues and findings related to the implementations of the COVID-19 response and recovery plan in Southeast Asia. We are optimistic about our efforts in combating the pandemic. Together, we can make the second ITTP COVID-19 successfully.
We would like to welcome Dr. Agustin Kusumayati, the Secretary to the University, Universitas Indonesia, and also the Chair of the second ITTP Covid-19, to introduce the ITTP Covid-19 platform. Dr. Agustin, the screen is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, good morning, very warm greeting from the campus of Universitas Indonesia in Depok City, West Java. His Excellency, President of the Republic of Indonesia, in today's occasion is represented by Minister of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, Bapak Nadiem Makarim, His Excellency, Secretary General of ASEAN, represented by Dr. Ahmad Zafarullah Abdul Jalil, Director for ASEAN Integration Monitoring, His Excellency, Chairman of the Board of Trustees and Executive Director of ASEAN University Network, Honorable Chief of Presidential Staff Office, Republik Indonesia, Bapak Muldoko, Honorable Rector of Universitas Indonesia, Profesor Ari Kuncoro, Honorable Vice Chancellor of University Technology Malaysia, Profesor Datuk Ahmad Fauzi Ismail, Honorable members of the Senior Official Meetings on Health Development, ASEAN, Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Indonesia, Profesor Mondasri Korip Sudaryo, distinguished resource persons, speakers, participants of the second ITTP Covid-19, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let's praise our God Almighty for His blessing to all of us. So today we can gather in this conference in a healthy and prosperous condition, although still in online mode. We are happy, we are honored to welcome all of you, the excellence, colleagues, faculties, researchers, and students to the second International Teleconference on Technologies and Policies for Supporting COVID-19 Response and Recovery in Southeast Asia, or we know as the second ITTP COVID-19. Being first initiated in 2021 by Universitas Indonesia and University Technology Malaysia, the second ITTP COVID-19 brings the theme of post-COVID-19 pandemic, healthier, smarter, and resilient Asian community. ITTP COVID-19, which involved 27 universities from Asian countries, is supported by ASEAN Secretariat and ASEAN University Network. Serial of meetings of steering committee, scientific committee, and organizing committee has been carried out to prepare this conference. The establishments and activities of those committees has connected various experts from different disciplines from universities in Southeast Asia. We believe and we hope that this connection will inspire and strengthen future collaboration among scientists and universities in Southeast Asia region. The objective of this second ITTP COVID-19 are to build a common platform to exchange ideas and insights toward COVID-19 pandemic, to formulate policy recommendation, and to identify relevant technologies to support COVID-19 response and post-pandemic recovery. There are more than 120 professors, faculties, and researchers involved in this initiative, and about 250 papers received and reviewed to be presented in the conference. Prior to this 3-day conference, serial of focus group discussions and webinars have been conducted to prepare, discuss, and formulate some policy recommendations. 3 policy issues are discussed. There are Asian requirement on electronic health record sharing, health technology and industry for health resilience, and health and safety promoting tourism in Asian region for sustainable welfare improvement. We have also successfully carried out 6 pre-conference events. First, webinar on Indonesia's role in the G20 for vaccine equality in Africa, hosted by Universitas Airlangga in June 14, 2022. Second, workshop on harmonization of global health standard protocol for COVID-19, hosted by Universitas Indonesia in July 1st, 2022. Webinar on Asian requirements on electronic health record sharings, hosted by University Technology Malaysia in July 28, 2022. Next, workshop on cost effectiveness analysis for innovative medicine in July 31st, 2022, hosted by Universitas Indonesia and sponsored by Novartis. Webinar on the roles of social science and humanities in dealing with COVID-19 pandemic, hosted by Universitas Indonesia in August 2nd, 2022. And last, the sixth, workshop on budget impact analysis for innovative medicine in August 3rd, 2022, hosted by Universitas Indonesia and sponsored by Novartis. This morning, we will start the conference by listening the welcoming remarks from the Rector of Universitas Indonesia and the Vice Chancellor of University Technology Malaysia. Then the Secretary General of ASEAN will also deliver his speech. Finally, His Excellency President of Republic Indonesia, represented by the Minister of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, will deliver his opening speech and officially open the conference. We will then enjoy some inspirational sharing from ASEAN leaders. The last part of this first day will be parallel sessions for paper and poster presentation. In the second day, besides parallel sessions for paper and poster presentation, our policy working groups will present the result of their discussion to gather more inputs from the participants. Please join those policy discussions and share your valuable ideas and insights on the matters. In the third day, we will have plenary session of Asian high-level stakeholders to share their best practices in tourism during the COVID-19 pandemic. The conference then will be concluded by a closing ceremony where we can enjoy art performance from various universities in Southeast Asia and announcement of best presenters from each scientific tracks. Please enjoy all sessions of this 3-day conference and may you have a memorable experience. His Excellency, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, in this wonderful occasion, let me take the opportunity to thank Universitas Indonesia and University Technology Malaysia for initiating and organizing this conference. Let me also deliver my sincere gratitude to all partner universities which pleasantly involved in this conference. Highest appreciation also be delivered to the Office of Presidential Staff, Republic of Indonesia, ASEAN Secretariat, and ASEAN University Network that have provided full support to this conference. The second ITTP Covid-19, where Universitas Indonesia is the main host, will not be marked as the end of ITTP Covid-19. Instead, the initiative will be further continued next year, where University Technology Malaysia will hand over the role as the main host. We will also continuously involve multi-stakeholders, including not only universities, but also government agencies, industries, and professional associations across Southeast Asia. We are expecting and humbly ask your extended support to achieve desirable impact of implemented formulated policy recommendation in ASEAN region. In this matter, let me expand my sincere gratitude to all partners for the extensive support that we have received so far. Special thanks go to Novartis, Indonesian Diaspora, and Mandiri in Health for their support to the second ITTP COVID-19. Finally, by having series of valuable sharings, inspirational discussions, attractive performance, and compelling awards, we hope you all enjoy a truthful conference. Again, thank you very much for your contribution and participations, and I wish you all always a good health. Have a good day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Agustin, for introducing ITTP Covid-19. Next, we would like to invite the Rector of Universitas Indonesia, Professor Ari Kunchoro, to give a welcoming speech. Professor Ari Kunchoro, please, the stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. His Excellency Bapak Insinyur Haji Joko Widodo, the President of the Republic of Indonesia, the Honorable Dato Paduka Lim Jok Hoi, ASEAN Secretary General, the Honorable General TNI Purnawirawan, Dr. H. Muldoko, SIP, Chief of Presidential Staff Republic of Indonesia, the Honorable Professor Dato TS Dr. Ahmad Fauzi Ismail PhD, Vice Chancellor University Teknologi Malaysia, the Honorable President of Universities in Southeast Asia, the Honorable Dr. Agustin Kusumayati, MSc PhD, Chair of the second ITTP Covid-19, the Honorable Professor Dr. Nondastri Korip Sudaryo, MS DSC, Dean of Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Indonesia, the honorable guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, University of Indonesia is honored and delighted to welcome you to the second international teleconference on technologies and policy for supporting COVID-19 response and recovery plan in Southeast Asia. For 2 years, ASEAN countries have struggling to survive the COVID-19 pandemic. And now we are facing the most likely similar challenges in many sectors to drive everything back to normal. Ladies and gentlemen, with the connection bound between us, the post-COVID-19 recovery is expected to be less hard if there are cooperation and collaboration among ASEAN countries. Together, we could set up and propose action plan to hasten attempts to have better living in our region. Since the first initiative in 2021, the International Teleconference on Technology and Policy in supporting implementation of COVID-19 aimed to develop joint initiative and synergize various strategies and recovery efforts after the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in the Southeast Asia region. In 2022, we gathered experts in related fields ranging from fundamental issues to practical new normal approaches, recovery plans, implementation. The social order after COVID-19 need to be redeveloped, not only from the health aspect, but also from the economic, social, and technological aspect altogether. The theme of the second ITTP COVID-19 is post-COVID-19 pandemic, healthier, smarter, and resilient ASEAN community. We would like to encourage ASEAN countries to be committed to giving recommendations that are more focused on formulating policy to increase efficiency and effectiveness in the recovery and strengthening of socioeconomic, technology, and health after the COVID-19 pandemic. Allow us to convey our high appreciation to the ASEAN Secretariat, ASEAN University Network, and the Presidential Office of the Republic of Indonesia for the endless support. Our partner universities, Universitas Indonesia and University Teknologi Malaysia as the organizer, Institut Teknologi Bandung, Universitas Erlangga, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Universitas Mullah Warman, Universitas Padjadjaran, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, Universiti Malaya, Universiti Putra Malaysia, University Sains Malaysia, University Utara Malaysia, Royal University of Phnom Penh, National University of Laos, University of Philippines, Nanyang Technological University, National University of Singapore, Sarakam University, Mahidol University, Prince of Songkla University, and University of Medicine and Pharmacy, PNU. Thank you for the hard work in organizing this conference. Gratitude shall also be delivered to our collaborator institution, Ministry of Health, Republic of Indonesia, Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, Republic of Indonesia, National Family Planning Coordinating Board, Republic of Indonesia, PT Norpartis, and in health, the highest appreciation is given to all research persons, moderator, committees, and participants from each country, and more than 20 universities. Your present participation and ideas are invaluable to the healthier and more resilient ASEAN community. Have a fruitful conference and may help be upon us. Terima kasih. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Ari Kunchoro, for the welcoming speech. We also would like to express massive gratitude to Universitas Indonesia, especially the Faculty of Public Health, for hosting this wonderful event. After this, we would like to invite the Vice Chancellor of University Teknologi Malaysia, Professor Dato Ahmad Fauzi Ismail, to give the welcoming speech. Professor Dato Fauzi, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and greetings to all. His Excellency Datuk Paduka Lim Jock Hoi, ASEAN Secretary General, His Excellency IR Joko Widodo, President of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency General TNI Dr. Muldoko, Chief of Presidential Staff, Republic of Indonesia, Professor Ari Kunchoro, Rector, Universitas Indonesia, University Presidents in the Southeast Asia region, Dr. Agustin Kusumayati, Chair of the second ITTP Covid-19, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, it is our great pleasure to welcome His Excellency, colleague, friends, and students to the second International Teleconference on Technologies and Policies in Supporting COVID-19 Response and Recovery Plan in Southeast Asia, or ITTP Covid-19. Ladies and gentlemen, ITTP Covid-19 is one of the most important events organized by more than 25 top universities in Southeast Asia in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This effort includes joint research, joint publication, joint webinar, and forum group discussion to initiate, develop, formulate, and publish policies and technologies recommendation to support COVID-19 response and recovery plan in Southeast Asia. I believe that the ITTP COVID-19 is a right platform for leading academics, industry experts, consultants, scholars, researchers, government, and policymakers with different backgrounds to exchange information and experience on current and future technology and policy for post-COVID-19 new normal in Southeast Asia. At a time when COVID-19 was wreaking havoc across the world, costing life and disrupting livelihoods, collaboration among the Southeast Asia countries, which is now called the ITTP COVID-19, is the key to building resilience and ensuring the success of COVID-19 recovery efforts, especially in the Southeast Asian region. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, ITTP COVID-19 exemplifies the true spirit of UTM and Vision 2025 that aims to develop holistic talents by developing high-quality graduates and to strengthen UTM's research, development, commercialization, and innovation. capability, and resilience to champion emerging knowledge and research niche areas. UTM also works closely with the industry to sustain university growth and to achieve global eminence as a leading university in science and technology. I am pleased to see ITTP Covid-19 paving the way toward a vibrant partnership to encourage and proliferate the best exit strategy from the COVID-19 crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I would like to congratulate the organizing team led by the chair of ITTP Covid-19, Dr. Agustin Kusumayati of Universitas Indonesia and University Technology Malaysia, in collaboration with 25 other leading universities in Southeast Asia, for the noble initiative to establish a consolidated exit strategy from the COVID-19 crisis. I must also thank the speakers and all those who have contributed toward making this event a success. To all participants and attendees, I wish you all a fruitful conference. Kerana Tuhan, untuk manusia. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Datuk Fauzi, for the welcoming speech. Now we are moving to our next agenda. We would like to welcome His Excellency the President of Republik Indonesia, Mr. Joko Widodo, represented by the Minister of Education and Culture, Nadiem Anwar Makarim, to give the opening speech. Mr. Nadiem, please, the screen is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, Rahayu. Yang saya hormati, Rektor Universitas Indonesia, Bapak Ari Kunchoro, perwakilan Konsorsium Perguruan Tinggi Asia Tenggara, serta Ibu dan Bapak peserta konferensi. Sebuah kehormatan pada hari ini saya mendapatkan kesempatan untuk mewakili Bapak Presiden Joko Widodo pada kegiatan yang sangat penting ini, khususnya dalam upaya bersama kita mewujudkan pemulihan pasca pandemi. Dan terpilihnya Universitas Indonesia sebagai tuan rumah pelaksanaan International Teleconference on Technology and Policy yang kedua tahun ini merupakan bukti kemampuan Indonesia mendorong pemulihan dan kebangkitan global. Khususnya karena pada tahun ini Indonesia mendapatkan kepercayaan menjadi negara pertama di Asia Tenggara yang ditunjuk sebagai tuan rumah forum G20. Pada pertemuan G20, yang diselenggarakan Kemendikbudristek, kami terus menekankan pentingnya gotong royong sebagai syarat utama mentransformasi sistem pendidikan dalam konteks nasional maupun regional dan global. Sebab situasi dunia saat ini dan proyeksi yang akan masa depan mengharuskan perubahan yang substansial dalam sistem pendidikan kita, agar dapat menjadi lebih relevan dengan perkembangan zaman dan kemajuan teknologi. Juga lebih memerdekakan guru dan murid dan jauh lebih resilient dalam menghadapi berbagai tantangan di masa mendatang. Merupakan suatu kebanggaan bagi Indonesia bahwa terobosan Merdeka Belajar yang saat ini mencapai 21 episode telah mampu menjawab kebutuhan tersebut. Salah satu contohnya adalah Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka yang telah menghilangkan sekat-sekat lintas sektor antara dunia pendidikan dan dunia usaha dan industri, serta batas-batas antara perguruan tinggi baik yang ada di dalam negeri maupun di luar negeri, termasuk di Asia Tenggara. Salah satunya melalui program ISMA, di mana telah terjadi pertukaran mahasiswa antara Indonesia dan negara-negara Asia Tenggara. Hal ini merupakan hal yang penting, sebab kami yakin bahwa mobilitas mahasiswa akan mendorong perkembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan ekosistem riset, di mana kolaborasi dalam proyek penelitian akan semakin dibutuhkan di masa depan. Kami pun akan terus bekerja keras agar program ini skalanya semakin luas dan melibatkan semakin banyak perguruan tinggi di Asia Tenggara. Tentu merupakan keinginan kita semua agar Asia Tenggara menjadi kawasan yang tangguh dalam menghadapi segala tantangan di masa depan. Oleh karena itu, saya berharap konferensi ini akan melahirkan rekomendasi-rekomendasi strategis yang mengedepankan semangat gotong royong, khususnya antara negara di Asia Tenggara. Terakhir, saya ucapkan selamat berdiskusi kepada para peserta konferensi. Mari kita terus menguatkan Asia Tenggara untuk pemulihan dunia. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you, Mr. Nadim, for the opening speech. Next, we would like to invite Dr. Brian Sri Prahastuti to give the opening speech about strengthening intersectoral collaboration to create economic resilience and health security post-COVID-19. Dr. Brian is the representative of the Chief of Presidential Staff, Republic of Indonesia.
She has been well known as an expert in humanitarian response, including humanitarian issue in COVID-19 pandemic. We would like to welcome Dr. Brian to the stage. Dr. Brian, the screen is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Sri Prastuti. I am the Senior Advisor of the Executive Office of President, Republic of Indonesia, responsible for the health, women and children sector in Indonesia. Allow me to deliver a keynote speech on behalf of the Chief of Presidential Staff, General Retired Muldoko. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, greeting of virtue, greetings for all. The Honorable Dato' Paduka Lim Chok Hoi, ASEAN Secretary General, represented by Dr. Ahmad Zafarullah Abdul Jalil, Director for ASEAN Integration Monitoring Directorate. Mr. Anutin Kanvirakul, the Minister of Public Health of the Kingdom of Thailand, Mr. Nadiem Makarim, the Minister of National Education, Culture, Research and Technology of Indonesia, this morning represented Mr. President Joko Widodo, and Professor Ari Kuncoro, Director of Universitas Indonesia, Professor Dato' Ahmad Fauzi, Vice Chancellor, University Technology Malaysia, and Dr. Agustin Kusumayati, MS Master Science Public PhD, the President of the second ITTP Covid-19. Ladies and gentlemen, the participant of the International Teleconference on Technology and Policy for supporting the implementation of COVID-19 recovery plan in Southeast Asia. The COVID-19 pandemic that have occurred since early 2020 have brought impact on the health, economy, education, social and culture sectors in the society. It is undeniable that the post-pandemic recovery require cooperation and commitment among countries, leading to the urge for experts to propose various action plans. Indonesia, as a member state of in ASEAN, has initiated a discussion forum to discuss strategic recommendation for recovery after the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in the ASEAN region, and to implement them together. The Executive Office of the President of Indonesia support the International Teleconference on Technology and Policy in supporting implementation of COVID-19, which is a consortium initiated by Universitas Indonesia and University Technology Malaysia, with 27 universities in Southeast Asia as the member under the support of ASEAN Secretariat and the ASEAN University Network. The first ITTP COVID-19 that was held in 2021 has brought together experts to discuss COVID-19 issues, ranging from very basic issues to the practical new normal approaches, recovery plans, and implementation. This discussion arises from the rising of the post-COVID-19 social order, not only in the health aspect, but also in the economic, social, and technology aspect. Today, the second ITTP COVID is held again to review its implementation and formulate recommendation according to the latest need. Apart from the scientific fact that COVID-19 virus continues to mutate into new variants, the world's ability to deal with the virus is also getting better. The discovery of COVID-19 vaccine is a game changer, believed as a game changer, to change the strategy toward the endemic status with the assumption that the herd immunity has been achieved when at least 70% of the population has acquired immunity from either from being infected or vaccinated. In this condition, it is expected that social life will gradually recover, followed by the economic recovery, marked by, among others, the mobility of travelers across countries for business, school, vacation, and other purposes. As of July 2022, 62% of the total population of Indonesia has received a complete COVID-19 vaccination dose. This means that 170 million of the 278 million Indonesians have acquired immunity to COVID-19. The government of Indonesia's effort to build this immunity proceed by giving a third dose of vaccine as booster, and the fourth dose is started to be provided to the health workers since August 2022 recently. The World Health Organization WHO has targeted that 70% of the world population should have been vaccinated by June 2022. However, the global achievement in vaccination coverage to date is still below the target. This is because many countries have limited capacity added by the persisting inequality in access to vaccine availability globally. The President of the Republic of Indonesia at the UN session in September 2021 stated that no one is safe from COVID-19 until everyone is safe. His statement reflects Indonesia's response to the existing inequality between countries. To mitigate future pandemic, investment and collective effort are needed to ensure the equal distribution of vaccine, drug, and medical devices in all countries in the world, both large and small, which will be shared responsibility, including among ASEAN member states. In response to the pandemic, WHO recommend the treaties, testing, tracing, and treatment, supporting by quarantine for those who are detected as positive for COVID and adherence to health protocol. The implementation differs from one country to another, depending on the capacity of each country. When many countries began to open up, various challenges are observed, including complaint of mandatory quarantine by own expensive, difference in the type and duration of validity of COVID-19 screening test result, and difference in the type of vaccine recognized by a country, etc. The ASEAN community has previously identified the need for harmonization of health protocol standards, access to test result, health data, and recognition of COVID-19 with the aim of providing timely and correct information to policy makers, maintaining public safety by providing necessary resources when needed, and conducting research to increase collective knowledge about pandemic for improving future preparedness. This has been discussed and resolved at the ITTP COVID-19 in 2021 and has even become the foundation for discussion on global health architecture for the G20 presidency. Unfortunately, there are many obstacles that countries are facing in building robust and scalable infrastructure needed to enable interoperability of the COVID-19 protocol. Multilateral cooperation and technical support from experts and academics from universities, especially those in the ASEAN region, are crucial to be encouraged and further strengthened in collaborating with policymakers at the country, regional, and global levels. Along with the increasing intensity of human mobility, it is very likely that another pandemic caused by other agents will occur in the future. This, as we all believe, emphasize the need for global health standards. Recent studies and webinars that have been conducted by Universitas Indonesia to listen to the voice of the civil society in G20 member states have led to a recommendation of 6 priorities areas: COVID-19 testing, COVID-19 vaccine, COVID-19 test operability, infrastructure, and data ecosystem. COVID-19 investment and harmonization of health protocol are as a preparedness for future pandemic. Learning from the experience in Indonesia, the pandemic cannot be overcome using a sectoral approach. Instead, a collaborative work between the government agencies, public, and private sectors is mandatory to deal with a pandemic. In fact, the development agenda that is delayed during the pandemic is also a common challenge to be pursued with all effort, because Indonesia has committed to creating the 2045 golden generation, which is a generation that is superior, dignified, capable of conquer, utilizing the development of science and technology, and having the characteristic based on the value of Pancasila and the ideology of Pancasila, which is nationalism. The same spirit needs to be built and strengthened among the 10 ASEAN member states, so that the vision and mission of accelerating the economic growth, social advance, and cultural development in the Southeast ASEAN region can still be guaranteed even in the post-COVID-19 pandemic era. Finally, it is my expectation that the second scientific meeting under the title of the International Teleconference on Technology and Policy in Supporting Implementation of COVID-19 with the theme of Post-COVID-19 Pandemic, Healthier, Smarter, and Resilient ASEAN Community will be succeeded in formulating strategy policy recommendation for increase the efficiency and effectiveness in the recovery and in strengthening the socio-economic, technology, and health sector after the COVID-19 pandemic within the regional framework of ASEAN and the national framework of each member state. May our good intention and step receiving the blessing from God Almighty. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Om Santi, Santi Om, Namo Buddhaya. Greeting of virtue.
Thank you, Dr. Brian, for the valuable keynote speech. It is true that COVID-19 has affected not only health, but also the economic sector. Therefore, Strengthening intersectoral collaboration is paramount to build strong economic resilience and health security among Southeast Asian countries. After this, we would like to invite Dr. Agustin and Dr. Brian to have a photo together for documentation. Please give the best smile and keep that. We are counting down in 1, 2, and 3. Once more, we're counting now in 1, 2, 3, and smile. Thank you, Dr. Agustin and Dr. Brian, for the picture. We would like to inform participants that the detail of program book is provided on the ITTP Covid-19 website, so participants can check the ittp2022.org for the detailed program book and for the paper presentation schedule. Participants are also expected to fill in the attendance sheet on the link given in the chat box. We are also providing the program book in the chat box session.
Okay, then we would like to invite participants, speakers, and guests for the photo session. Please open the camera and the organizing committee will capture the screen for documentation. We would like to suggest all of you to give the best smile and keep that for at least 10 seconds. So please be ready. We are counting now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the picture together with us. ITTP Covid-19 is not only about the teleconference. Currently, we have photography and infographic competitions. There are 15 infographics and 19 photos submitted by students from Southeast Asian universities and colleges.
We kindly ask participants to vote for the photos and infographics through the website www.ittp2022.org. Click the Photography and Infographic Voting tab and vote for the best photos and infographics that attract you most. For public vote, you can also like those photos and infographics on our Instagram at ittp.2022.
The winners will be determined by the highest score and will be announced in the closing ceremony. We also would like to express our sincere appreciation to our sponsor, which are Novartis and Mandiri InHealth, which generously assist us make this event come together to become a success. We also would like to express our gratitude to the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, which has supported us this far. Thank you to all of our sponsors which have supported us this far.
This is Indonesia, a land of immeasurable diversity, a land that offers vast opportunities. This is the nexus of hopes and aspirations from across the archipelago.
Bersama, kami berikan kontribusi nyata lewat inovasi, karya cipta, dan pencapaian lain sesuai bidang ilmu. Dari UI, untuk Indonesia yang toleran, unggul, dan bermartabat.
Welcome to Universitas Indonesia. Since our beginnings, Universitas Indonesia has been continually evolving and building upon our achievements. We have become become the biggest, best, and leading university in Indonesia and also Asia. Here at Universitas Indonesia, the best and brightest from across the region come to study. From diverse backgrounds, we build an intellectual community that enriches and enhances humanity. For superior generations, Universitas Indonesia provides world-class learning facilities. We implement state-of-the-art technology for research and industrial development. Our campus is accessible to all, also to the disabled. This is our commitment for realizing an inclusive educational environment. Universitas Indonesia is fully supported by environmentally friendly transportation and sustainable energy systems. We take pride in being a green and sustainable campus. Universitas Indonesia partners with relevant stakeholders to facilitate and provide ease of comfort for day-to-day activities for all our academic community. We recognize that each individual is unique, with unique talents and interests. As such, Universitas Indonesia provides opportunities for every individual to develop themselves to their fullest. Universitas Indonesia provides and fully supports students with great facilities and activities so that students are able to develop and grow to become their best. Together, we embrace our diversity to grow the future together. For Indonesia, for the world. Universitas Indonesia. Unity in diversity. Universitas Indonesia. Veritas, Probitas, Justitia.
No one would have expected 2020 to go the way that it did. Out of nowhere, the world just closed its doors. And although it's been a year that's physically kept us from our friends and loved ones, it's been a year that has brought us together and made us stronger in many other ways. And now, as we start a new year, we slowly begin to open our doors once again to new people, new places, and to new adventures.
Hi, Beth. Yes, Beth.
Hey guys! You ready to go?
I'm super ready.
Yeah, see you there. I'm on my way.
It takes months to make ulos.
Inulos mo yan ang siya mahumag kinainan.
This is the famous Toto dance. Look at the stunning Holborn Hills. Wow. The fact is, Danau Toba is the biggest caldera lake in the world. So it needs more than just a day to travel here. You have to prove it and see for yourself.
I'm in Jakarta! Modern city! You know guys, Jakarta has 47 museums that you can visit. Now, I'm going to meet my friend. Wow. This mask, they believe can fight them from bad things.
Guys, I'm in Malioboro Street. I'm trying to do batik here. Guys, it's called Wayang Kuli, UNESCO World Heritage.
The last real dragon on Earth. Enjoying this beautiful morning. Let's find out world-class underwater paradise. Hey, turtle! Doesn't want to roll around in this pink cotton candy sand. I brought this tent.
He's
It's the cleanest village in the world.
Let's take a selfie.
Shopping time!
Oh my god.
Tak beranjak, kami menunggumu. Merindukan tatapan kagummu. Membayangkan ramai tepuk tanganmu dan menantikan kedatanganmu. Kami di sini untukmu. Bersama mereka yang ingin mengisi harimu. Dan yang ingin dekat denganmu. Semangat kami masih tersimpan. Dan kami telah menyiapkan setiap keindahan dan kekayaan. Senyuman dan isi hati kami ingin segera tersampaikan. Keajaiban kami, cerita-cerita kami, dan tradisi kami ingin segera bertemu. Kami tahu kamu pun ingin cepat kembali. Karenanya, kami selalu menjaga tempat ini. Sampai nanti kamu kembali dengan rasa tenang, kami tunggu di sini, di Indonesia aja.
Can you hear it? The song of the universe. The voice is calling me. It's echoes of our past in a place before this time. They hold answers to who we are. They know where we come from. But why are they calling and asking me to feel this sacred land, Java? This land has so many secrets and stories to tell us. Its everlasting beauty connecting us with our past and future. Oh, Mother Earth and Father of the universe, can you hear us? These are offerings from our heart. Our love shines in every creature. It lives in every being. I'm ready for this magical journey of my life to look for something beyond. This journey is to remind us of ourselves. Now, I'm ready to rediscover our myth, our heritage, our DNA. to witness the greatest moments of our memory. And hello, we meet again. I see you, and I see me. Now, I want to meet my true self. Can you feel me? Mother, hold my hand. Father, breathe with me. I am discovering myself.
Gusti Tunggal lan Manunggal, anak-anakku jagat Nuswantara, eling karo sejatine urip bangsamu. Sejatine urip iku ana ing asih. Mamayu hayuning bawana.
Where am I? I found myself here in the dark. With all of our pain, our ignorances, our never-ending misery. Let all the suffering only be my strength. And I see true lights within us. They're shining in every being. Our love remains for an infinite time. Mother, Father, I can feel you. This absolute love, it is always within all of us.
Anak-anakku jagat Nuswantara, tetep eling lan tusu kaluhurane bumi jagat Nuswantara. Umekeng anak turun turunan. Purwa madya usana bisa njogo jiwa jagat Jawi.
In life, there are moments where we feel stuck. All we have to do is search. Sometimes, inspiration comes unexpectedly, even from special places. Don't just enjoy the inspiration, live it. Not too much, just enough. Because in the end, inspirations exist to be shared.
This is Indonesia, a land of immeasurable diversity, a land that offers vast opportunities. This is the nexus of hopes and aspirations from across the archipelago.
Bersama, kami berikan kontribusi nyata lewat inovasi, karya cipta, dan pencapaian lain sesuai bidang ilmu. Dari UI, untuk Indonesia yang toleran, unggul, dan bermartabat.
Welcome to Universitas Indonesia. Since our beginnings, Universitas Indonesia has been continually evolving and building upon our achievements. We have become the biggest, best, and leading university in Indonesia and also Asia. Here at Universitas Indonesia, the best and brightest from across the region come to study. From diverse backgrounds, we build an intellectual community that enriches and enhances humanity. For superior generations, Universitas Indonesia provides world-class learning facilities. We implement state-of-the-art technology for research and industrial development. Our campus is accessible to all, also to the disabled. This is our commitment for realizing an inclusive educational environment. Universitas Indonesia is fully supported by environmentally friendly transportation and sustainable energy systems. We take pride in being a green and sustainable campus. Universitas Indonesia partners with relevant stakeholders to facilitate and provide ease of comfort for day-to-day activities for all our academic community. We recognize that each individual is unique, with unique talents and interests. As such, Universitas Indonesia provides opportunities for every individual to develop themselves to their fullest. Universitas Indonesia provides and fully supports students with great facilities and activities so that students are able to develop and grow to become their best. Together, we embrace our diversity to grow the future together. For Indonesia, for the world. Universitas Indonesia. Unity in diversity. Universitas Indonesia, Veritas, Probitas, Justisia.
No one would have expected 2020 to go the way that it did.
We are currently moving forward to our next agenda. Dr. Nilesh Buddha from WHO Southeast Asia Regional Office, Dr. Tan Kai Chuan from National University of Singapore, and Dr. Ahmad Zafarullah Abdul Jalil from ASEAN will give a presentation in the next session. The following plenary session will be guided by Professor Kemal Nazaruddin Siregar. Professor Kemal is a professor from the Biostatistics Department, Universitas Indonesia. He is currently the chair of Health Informatics Research Cluster at the Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Indonesia. Professor Kemal's expertise is in maternal health issues, reproductive health, HIV/AIDS, and infectious disease. Prof. Kemal obtained his Master of Arts degree and his PhD from the University of Exeter, London, United Kingdom.
Professor Kemal will lead our today's discussion about global health architecture, shaping future of global health vision. During and after the discussion, the participant can ask the questions by clicking the raise hand feature on the Zoom. Or the participants can also write the questions using the chat box feature as well. The organizers will collect all of the questions and assist our moderator during the plenary session. We will have a question and answer session after the presentation. Now we are giving the screen to Prof. Kemal. Professor Kemal, the screen is yours.
All right. Thanks to the MC, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants of the teleconference, good morning. Let me introduce myself again. I'm Kemal Siregar. I'm a professor for public health from the University of Indonesia. Will act as moderator for this session. Our meeting this time, which is the first plenary session, will discuss an important theme regarding the global health architecture, namely shaping future of global health vision. It is fortunate that we will get enlightenment on the theme from the speakers who are expert in the topics they will bring. Our speakers are as follows. Dr. Nilesh Buddha, who is the lead for regional emergencies, WHO's Southeast Asia Regional Office, will present the topic of global health architecture to strengthen health system post-COVID-19. And then Dr. Tan Kai Chuan, who is Associate Professor from National University of Singapore, will present the topic of response from the National University of Singapore to COVID-19 from 2020 until 2022. Then Dr. Ahmad Zafarullah Abdul Jalil, who is the Director for ASEAN's Integration Monitoring Directorate, will present the topic of stability, recovery, and mitigation system beyond COVID-19 in the ASEAN. I received information from the community that our speaker from Thailand regrets that he is unable to be with us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, this plenary session consists of 3 speakers then, each of whom will present their materials within around 20 minutes. We will listen together, starting with the presentation from the first speaker to the end with the third speaker. After that, there will be question and answer sessions, which I hope we have enough time for it. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start with the first speaker, allow me to convey his brief bio. Dr. Nilesh Buddha is a medical doctor. He completed extensive further education and professional trainings in the field of public health from various countries, such as India, Geneva, South Africa, Cairo, and Japan. He has also gone beyond extensive work experience. He is currently the leader for Regional Emergencies, WHO Southeast Asia Regional Office, or CIERO, based in New Delhi. To Dr. Buddha, I would like to invite you to deliver your presentations. Dr. Buddha.
Thank you very much, Professor Kamar Siredar, and good morning to all the distinguished participants, delegates, and ladies and gentlemen. Please allow me to share my screen.
Could the committee help us?
Yes, I think I can share it now.
Okay, thank you.
Please confirm once that it is visible properly and I am audible properly.
Yes, good.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much again. And my topic of the presentation is Global Health Architecture to Strengthen Health System Following the COVID-19 Pandemic. I sincerely thank Universitas Indonesia for this conference and this invitation to the WHO. This is the overview of my presentation for next 20 minutes. I will touch upon these 5 important themes in next 20 minutes. First, socio-economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic, how bad it was and it is still going on, how countries were unprepared and so it led to multiple reviews and processes during last couple of years, how we can further improve. What are the lessons learned from COVID pandemic response and what are the main recommendations? And then what is WHO's proposal for the strengthening of global health architecture? And then Indonesia's leadership for a safer world together. We all have gone through the COVID-19 pandemic in last couple of years, and these are some of the figures that we are still counting. 90% of healthcare system got disrupted during COVID-19 pandemic. The economic cost of COVID-19 pandemic is estimated to be $12 trillion in last 2 years. And as I said, the pandemic is still going on and we are still counting the economic cost. More than 1.6 billion students were out of school for the larger part of the pandemic during the lockdown and other restrictions. The climate change we know was a big issue and investments had started happening in that, but COVID-19 took away the resources and that led to minus 30% of investment in clean energy transition. More than 135 million people were pushed into poverty that is estimated to be by 2030. And on the right side of the screen, if you can compare, the cost of COVID-19 pandemic is 40,000% more than what is annual cost of HIV, TB, malaria combined. So this is a huge crisis that we went through, the world went through. It's an unprecedented crisis, once in a century, once in a lifetime. But that will not be the last one. COVID-19 pandemic will not be the last one. The world is already facing acute hepatitis in children of unknown origin. Then monkeypox cases are rising all over the world. In last few months now, we have more than 26,000 cases of monkeypox that never happened earlier outside certain countries of Africa. And so we need to remain fully prepared for these newly emerging and re-emerging virus, bacteria, and pathogens. And so the world got together on various forums. The WHO has all the countries of the world as its members. And there are several processes and reviews and panels that were launched in last 2 years to review what did we do good and what went not so good. There were independent panel of prime ministers and presidents. There is International Health Regulation Review Committee. There are high-level panels of G7 and G20, where Indonesia is currently the president. Independent Oversight and Advisory Committee is there, which looked into all the aspects of pandemic preparedness and response. Then there is Working Group of Member States on Sustainable Financing of WHO. And there is also Working Group of Member States on WHO Preparedness and Response. And again, Indonesia co-chaired. Ambassador Greta from the permanent representative of Indonesia in Geneva co-chaired this group. And then the most important one that is currently negotiating various aspects of pandemic preparedness and response strengthening is Intergovernmental Negotiating Body. And I will mention some of these as we move forward. But these are important independent high-level panels that made several recommendations, and they identified lessons learned during COVID-19 pandemic in different aspects of what we call strategic preparedness and response plan. These I will not go in the list of all these things, but the important point is we need to improve and strengthen the coordination, planning, financing, and monitoring of our preparedness. The surveillance, risk communication, laboratories which need now genomic sequencing strengthening, the public health and social measures which should be linked with the local epidemiological risk assessment. We cannot go for a blunt lockdown of the entire country or entire population, but we need to fine-tune it according to the local risk assessment. And then vaccination, we saw that the world came up with the vaccines in less than a year. But most of these vaccines are not influencing the transmission of the virus, and so the virus still continues. Thankfully, with the booster doses, the hospitalization and deaths have reduced drastically, but the research in vaccines continued so that we can also improve on the transmission side. All these are important areas, and there are several documents for the public health students, public health researchers, and the academia to understand and study what are these different aspects of lessons learned during COVID-19 pandemic. And I am sure Indonesia and other countries in ASEAN, other countries in Southeast Asia, they have their own sort of experiences and lessons learned that we can apply for further improving our preparedness and response capacities. The key recommendations cover all different aspects, starting from national, local, regional, and global pandemic preparedness and response. I want to mention that how these recommendations WHO has classified so that we can understand where to invest, where to further strengthen. So, for example, more than 300 recommendations are there. And as you can see, most of these recommendations, more than 60% of recommendations are focusing on preparedness. Because we know that when there is a big crisis for the response, somehow we try to mobilize resources and all the sectors come in the play and president and prime ministerial level interventions happen, but not for the preparedness. And so most of these recommendations focus on strengthening preparedness. Similarly, it also focuses on strengthening leadership, because when there is pandemic-like crisis, the health sector has very limited role. All other different sectors have to be coordinated, and that's why the leadership needs to be strengthened in all places, in all countries, at all levels. And so WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros, just before a couple of months in the World Health Assembly, came up with the 10 proposals to build a safer world together. In the World Health Assembly, 194 countries of the world, they sit and discuss together and come up with the proposals, endorse the proposals, and develop the plans. So what are these 10 proposals? In one figure, these are the 10 proposals. And I will spend a minute on 3 or 4 important proposals from these. All these proposals are important, and WHO is currently working to implement these proposals for the next few years. But most important, the pandemic accord, which I mentioned earlier, the intergovernmental negotiating body, which is basically all the countries together are working out a treaty, an international treaty, so that cooperation, solidarity, equity, governance, financing, all these aspects of architecture are incorporated and the world remains better prepared. This treaty is expected, currently the first draft is getting ready, but it is expected that in 2024, in the World Health Assembly, all the countries will discuss it and hopefully agree on it. Then the proposals talk about strengthening governance, strengthening systems, and strengthening financing. And I will touch upon important aspects of this. So the most important one that I think is the proposed Global Health Emergency Council. Because as you saw earlier, most of the recommendations talk about strengthening leadership. And so Dr. Tedros has proposed that there should be a Global Health Emergency Council made up of heads of states, presidents and prime ministers, and then of course UN Secretary General and Director General of WHO, and heads of other relevant international organizations and bodies. They can meet once in a year or once in 2 years and agree on important aspects, but the most important thing is that if there is a crisis, then they can immediately virtually meet, mobilize resources, address urgent issues of equity, of travel and trade restrictions, etc. Because the world suffered through this in last 2 years, and we did not have such a mechanism. And so WHO is currently working to work out the modalities of this, and hopefully from next year we will have such a council. Similarly, where I work, Southeast Asia Regional Office of WHO in New Delhi, we are also working to establish a regional council which is mirroring with this global council. So if we have a regional emergency like we had Indian Ocean tsunami, where only countries of Southeast Asia were affected, we can have this meeting of these heads of states of our council and take certain key decisions that all countries, all sectors can agree on. The other one, intergovernmental negotiating body, this is a big ticket agenda. If you remember, there is something called WHO's Framework Convention for Tobacco Control that was agreed upon before a few years, and since last 10-15 years, the world is slowly but steadily moving towards better control of tobacco, better rules and regulation. If you see now on the cigarette packets and on other products of tobacco, there are compulsory warnings. There are several such aspects. For example, sports events and other big events cannot be sponsored by tobacco. These are legally binding instruments, international instruments for the countries to adopt. Similarly, WHO hopes that these intergovernmental negotiating body will come up with a treaty which will be legally binding for all the countries to implement. And currently these are being discussed on regular basis with all the countries. Then there is international health regulation. We know that from 1969, only a couple of countries, a couple of diseases were considered under IHR. And then it was revised in 2005 to expand it to cover more diseases and also any unknown disease which may have pandemic potential. But the world has seen in last 2 years that this is also not sufficient. And so all the countries are currently discussing how to strengthen these IHR 2005 so that the genomic sequence data can be shared immediately, so people, researchers can start working on vaccines and countermeasures. Then there should be something like public health emergency of regional concern. Then trade and travel restrictions should not affect movement of healthcare workers or essential medical supplies. These are all items and agendas under discussion for strengthening the IHR 2005. And this is called targeted amendments. And currently it is open for all the countries to provide suggestions and their recommendations for these up to 30th September. And after that, a final package of proposed recommendations will be available for adoption by all countries in 2024. And hopefully these will further strengthen the architecture. But this architecture or the health system does not sit alone. The health system has three major components: the primary health care or universal health coverage, the health promotion aspect, and then the health security, which is all these pandemics and outbreaks and emergencies. But this health system is part of the society and part of the government and part of different sectors, and we need to work with them. Because we have seen that most of these new diseases are of zoonotic origin. We need to have the One Health approach. The environment, the national security issues, economic and financial issues, all these are interlinked with health system, and we cannot deal with it in silo or in isolation. So what are these different components of global architecture under the health system? Again, in the interest of time, I will not go in different aspects of it, and these documents are available and can be shared. It will be very interesting for the students of the university and other delegates to go through this. These collaborative surveillance, access to countermeasures, because what used to happen that developing countries raise this question that we share our genomic sequencing data, and then the pharmaceutical companies from the developed countries develop vaccines based on our data, and then we ourselves do not get access to such countermeasures. So this is now being addressed and will be taken care of. Similarly, clinical care and community protection. The most important one, of course, is emergency coordination, which can coordinate not only these 4 components, but with other sectors also. And it is not just when pandemic happens. The whole cycle of prepare, prevent, detect, respond, and recover, and after recovery again continue preparations. Because peacetime preparations, when there is no health emergency, we must be fully working and getting ready for preparedness. And it is at national, regional, and global levels. Now coming to financing. The G20, WHO, World Bank, with the high-level panel, they estimated that the world needs $31 billion per year for financing of pandemic preparedness and response. But there is a gap of $10.5 billion per year. And this gap is $7 billion at national levels and $3.5 billion at the global or regional level. And where are these gaps, first of all? These gaps are in different aspects of pandemic preparedness and response. As we just saw earlier, the 5 different components across the cycle of preparedness and response. Now, how to get this money? Because unless we put in more money, things are not going to work. And so G20 last year with the Italian presidency and with the current year Indonesian presidency, the G20 countries have supported World Bank to come up with a new fund. The new fund will be housed in the World Bank. US, UK, European Union, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, etc. have already committed more than $1 billion for it. And I'm glad to learn that Indonesia has also committed $50 million to this initial funding for pandemic preparedness and response. This fund will be housed in the World Bank, but will be implemented by many different entities, including WHO and other UN agencies. This fund is expected to be operational from I think September or November, just around the G20 summit. And we are really looking forward to utilize this opportunity to strengthen preparedness and response capacities in our countries in Southeast Asia and ASEAN countries. Indonesia has a rich history of various training programs for different aspects of emergency preparedness and response. WHO, as part of those 10 proposals, is now coming up with public health and emergency workforce, where it will draw upon the national resources and come up with a pool of qualified, competent professionals who are available regionally and globally to provide support in any event. Now, I'm coming to end of my presentation. What is the global health architecture? It is a relationship between many different actors engaged in global health and processes through which they work together. And there are many players, and we are grateful to them for their work in this area. And they are government, civil society, UN agencies, and various other intergovernmental agencies, including World Bank. But that needs to be coordinated. And that coordination and convening role, the only agency that has the mandate is the WHO. And all these recommendations have said WHO needs to be further strengthened. not only financially, but for also its central role in coordinating these all efforts. As I said, Indonesia's commitment of $50 million to this new fund is great. And then Indonesia's leadership in last couple of years in all these discussions is now leading to a logical conclusion of further strengthening, and we hope and we want to make sure that the world does not go through COVID pandemic like situation again. And as students of public health, we know that it makes sense to invest in preparedness and prevention, and that is what our regional director, Dr. Poonam Singh from WHO Southeast Asia Regional Office always says, because if you invest in prevention and preparedness, then you are saved of huge socio-economic impact of response and mitigations. And so let us come together and let us take this opportunity of G20 leadership, and I'm glad the G20 leadership remains in the region after Indonesia. Next year it is India, and so we want to use this momentum, political commitment to strengthen pandemic preparedness and response by strengthening global health architecture. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Back to you, Chip.
Thank you very much, Dr. Buddha, who has delivered the very, very, very important materials. Ladies and gentlemen, now allow me to present a brief biography of the second speaker. Dr. Tan Kay Chuan is an associate professor of the Department of Industrial Engineering and Management, and also Director, Asia Programs, Global Relations Office at the National University of Singapore. He earned his PhD in Industrial Engineering and Operational Research from Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University in 1990. He has also gained extensive experience in teaching, research, as well as an assessor and trainer. To Dr. Tan, hereby I would like to invite you to convey your material, Dr. Tan.
Thank you. This talk is about the response from the National University of Singapore to the COVID-19 pandemic, roughly from about the beginning of 2020 to about April of 2022. I will present on the response from the university in terms of system elements, the kinds of safe management measures and practices that we have instituted, and how we use technology to assist us in coping with the measures that we did. This is the number of daily new cases from February 2020 to April 2022. The number of daily cases. And you can see the two large peaks beginning from about September 2021 and beginning from about January 2022. Singapore instituted our measures using a number of phases that we call phase 1. We had later a circuit breaker phase. We had a phase 2A, a phase 2B, and then a phase 3. These measures primarily being restrictions of access to public places, restrictions of the number of people who can gather together. And yes, it has been unfortunate that on many festival occasions, including New Year's, Hari Raya, and so on, that people, families, were not able to get together. That has been unfortunate. But so, what are the systems, safe management measures, and technologies applied by the National University of Singapore? At the university, we are run by a board of trustees. Underneath that, there is a crisis executive group run by the president. The president directs our OSHI director under the crisis and emergency management team. And under this director, every department, every college, every school has a unit incident crisis management head and its committee. The crisis and emergency management structure is under the pillar of first, the University Communication Office, who communicates with the public, with students, with parents. For example, there was an incident where 600 over students had to be quarantined on a very short notice. These include foreign students. For a period of 2 weeks, they had to be stuck at the hostels. So, explaining to parents why your child cannot go home. Reaching out to parents overseas on why your child could not go home, how we had to manage all their diet, food matters, laundry, counseling, and so on. It's a challenge. Coming under the University Communications Office, there is the crisis and emergency management team itself, and there will also be legal affairs matters concerning finance, concerning administration, and of course, a whole host of management matters concerning logistics of food supply and every kind of supply for the students. Under the Unit Incident Management Commander, there are operational processes, planning, logistics, and administrative and finance matters. How did our university deal with how to contain COVID-19? Well, it is according to prevention, detect, and then contain its spread. Let me explain.
Recording in progress.
Appropriate safe management practices were introduced or relaxed as the situation required. There was a period of time where a short period of time where the university had to be closed. No access at all to the university for students and for staff for cleaning purposes. And throughout the 2-year period, certain buildings had to be closed in response to cases that arose. Safe distancing measures, maximum event capacities such as classroom, larger lecture theaters, enhanced disinfection and cleaning, procedures for students to verify their vaccination status, their COVID status before coming to class, the use of technology to allow students to use the university Wi-Fi if everything is okay, but if everything is not okay, to disallow students to come to campus, to disallow their use of Wi-Fi services and so on. We used technology to manage this. Under detection, temperature screening, daily and needing to report, and the use of antigen rapid testing weekly, every Monday on a weekly basis, wastewater surveillance testing of dormitories, offices, and so on. Containment. We divided the university into a number of regions that cannot be crossed, meaning students and staff in one region cannot cross over to another region for containment purposes. And when cases did occur, contact tracing, isolate, stay home notices, providing for staff and students absences, work from home, stay at home, and so on, and doing these things rapidly. These were the key to containing the spread of COVID-19 at NUS and in all of Singapore. Under the NUS pandemic suite, the use of technology, there is the NUS Safe Management Framework using geolocation to track students, meaning where students are, where they access the Wi-Fi from, they are tracked. Using the NUS Safe Management IT tool to determine crowd density at lecture theaters and other places, and providing a live dashboard of this crowd density, for example, at the canteens and other food areas, so that students and staff would know to not go into more crowded areas, and so on. Having to upload ART results for testing every week, as I mentioned, dispensing of free ART kits from vending machines, and so on, are the measures that NUS has been implemented. For example, there is the green pass that you have been properly vaccinated, that you are in the correct zone. This information needs to be verified from your handphone before you can go into the library, before you can attend classes, before you can go into the canteen. The green class concept. And as mentioned, the zoning concept for administrators, researchers, students, Team A or Team B, meaning we divided the working staff into two teams. 50% of the time, they are either on campus or they work from home. And also, the shift concept of being on campus in the morning or in the afternoon, or for certain categories of workers, only at night. And also, instituting the days concept of coming in only on alternate days or alternate weeks. Needing to declare temperature every day, no declaration, no coming to campus. A red pass will disallow students to come to campus. Having to upload ART results weekly, as mentioned. The free distribution of ART kits from vending machines provided, located all around campus. As mentioned, everyone, students and staff, were provided with 2 free kits for every 2 uploads of their test results. Also mentioned, crowd sensing, real-time information on venue capacity, a dashboard provided to everyone to tell everyone food places and other public places. These are the suite of measures that the National University of Singapore and the other universities in Singapore, and also largely all government, education and other ministries have instituted to contain COVID-19 in Singapore for the past approximately 2.5 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tan, who has delivered a very... Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you again, Dr. Tan, who has delivered a very interesting materials on containing the COVID-19 at the university. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the third speaker, and I will briefly read his biodata. Dr. Ahmad Zafarullah Abdul Jalil is an economist. He completed his higher education up to a PhD degree in France. He has extensive work experience in many countries such as Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and Malaysia. He is also an associate professor for economics, finance, and banking at the College of Business, University Utara, Malaysia. To Dr. Abdul Jalil, I would like to invite you to be able to convey your materials. Dr. Abdul Jalil.
Good morning, and so I will be sharing some of the work that currently being undertaken in ASEAN on how we actually support the our member states in addressing the impacts of COVID-19. So before that, I think I'll start by sharing a little bit on how we are in terms of the recovery process. Can I have this next slide, please? So just to share that the economy across the region has started to recuperate. And if you look at the growth figures, the economy has recovered actually since last year, where we had experienced a growth of 3.4%, and then this momentum is expected to again continue, the region is expected to grow by 5% and 5.2% consecutively next year and this year and in 2023. And I think the reason behind this recovery is mostly driven by our trade and investment performance. If you look at the trade values, it has actually exceeded the pre-pandemic level in 2019. And in 2021, our total trade value is amounting to 3.3 trillion compared to 2.8 trillion in 2019. And if you look at the investment figures, inflows to ASEAN has also increased by more than 42% to reach around 174 billion in 2021, which is still slightly below the 2019 level. However, I think we should also be aware that currently the global economic situation is currently faced with another headwinds, and then there is the possibility that our growth, investment as well as trade may be adversely impacted as well. Next slide, please. I think one of the major reasons behind this growth figure, especially and as well as in trade and growth, investment performance, is the fact that ASEAN has been relatively successful in terms of the rollout of our vaccinations across our populations. As of now, 68% of total ASEAN population have been fully vaccinated. And then another 29% has been inoculated with a booster vaccination. And then this is partly also contributed by some measures undertaken at the regional level, especially in those countries where resources may not be as widely available as other countries. I'm talking about those countries such as our CLMV countries. So we have one particular initiative which is called the COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund, which is actually a pool of financial resources contributed by our partners, which is aimed to provide support to member states in the detection, control and preventions of COVID-19 transmissions, as well as in the provisions of relevant material to our medical professional, healthcare workers, and frontline workers across the member state. And however, I think it is important to also note that beyond the commendable progress that we have made with regard to COVID-19 pandemic, we are now faced with another looming threat of another emerging disease, which is the monkeypox, which the World Health Organization has declared as a public health emergency of international concern. And this again underscores the importance for us to further strengthen our regional surveillance and also to accelerate research on vaccines and therapeutics in order for us to support better public health responses in facing emerging of new diseases such as monkeypox. Next slide, please. So allow me to share a little bit more on what ASEAN has actually done in order to assist our member countries in mitigating the impact of COVID-19, as well as the impact of measures that have been undertaken in order for countries to mitigate the impact of COVID-19. So obviously most of the measures are implemented at the national level. But then at the same time, I think ASEAN did see that there are rooms and needs for us to work collaboratively together. And then not only to address this issue, but also to complement what have been undertaken at the national level. So these are some of the initiatives that have been undertaken. So I've mentioned earlier about COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund, and then there are also other several initiatives that I would touch upon later on, but I will focus now more on the one of our major initiatives, which is the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework. Can I have the next slide, please? So basically, the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework and its implementation plan was adopted at the 37th ASEAN Summit in 2020, and it served as a whole of community exit strategy for ASEAN from the pandemic. And in drafting these documents, we have consulted our stakeholders, including business councils, external partners, and it's also been presented to the Forum of Entities associated with ASEAN. And the main objective of this recovery framework is to help ASEAN address the impact of COVID-19 in 3 phases: the reopening, recovery, and resilience. And that it consists of 5 broad strategies. The first one is enhancing health system, which is specifically aim to strengthen public health responses, to better prepare, respond, and mitigate the health emergencies. And it also look into how we can strengthen our human security in the region, maximize the potential of intra-ASEAN market and broader economic integration, accelerate inclusive digital transformation, and finally to advance to a more sustainable and resilient future. Next slide, please. So in total, if you look at the comprehensive plan, there are a total of 187 initiatives under this plan, and then we are closely monitoring the implementations of this plan, and in order for us to see to what extent it helps the regions in addressing the impact of COVID-19. And then I would also like to inform that some of the initiative under this ACRF is aimed towards guaranteeing the stability in the provisions of essential goods. This can be achieved through an open market for trade and investment, as well as by facilitating seamless travel during COVID-19 pandemic. So I would like to focus on 3 main initiatives that are aimed that would contribute towards this objective. One is the ASEAN, the MOU on the implementations of non-tariff measures on essential goods, which ASEAN member state has signed, and it includes a list of more than 200 tariff lines to facilitate seamless trade, including the provisions of medical goods and food and agricultural products. And member states are currently discussing in order for them to expand the list of these essential goods in the MOU to also cover vaccine-related products. And the list of essential goods that are being negotiated are actually based on the recommendations from WTO, World Customs Organization, WCO, as well as OECD. Another major initiative that also would help ASEAN to this the objective that I mentioned earlier is the ASEAN Travel Corridor Arrangement Framework, or the APCAF. The objective is to facilitate essential business travel among ASEAN member states, but at the same time, we also want to ensure that the public health, the safety of the citizen is also being prioritized. In order to do that, this ATCAF is also complemented with relevant guidelines. So we have the mutual recognitions of COVID-19 vaccination certificates, the health protocol in public places for pandemic preventive measure, the protocol for regional contact tracing and rapid disease outbreak investigation, as well as the ASEAN COVID-19 guidelines for airport transport operators. And another important initiative that I would also like to highlight is the regional reserve of medical supply for public health emergency, as well as the ASEAN +3 emergency rights reserve of up to. So the first one actually consists of earmarked assets of medical supplies such as PPEs, masks, surgical gloves, etc., that are based on international as well as other emergency health kits that are based on international healthcare safety standards. And then the second one, the APTA, is actually has been is an existing mechanism, but then during the pandemic it has been operationalized to assist our member state in need of food provisions during emergency. More than 2,200 metric ton of rice actually has been released to prevent food insecurity for ASEAN countries as of June 2022. Next slide, please. So beyond COVID-19 pandemic, ASEAN has also set the scene to mitigate future crises and health emergencies. So I mentioned earlier about the monkeypox. So, but then this is only one of the new threat that we are facing. So under the key initiative within ACRF and ASEAN have actually provided a strong foundation for ASEAN to prepare, to better prepare and mitigate and respond to future crises and health emergencies. And so we have actually established several centers and network in order for us to achieve this. One of these is the ASEAN Center for Public Health Emergencies and Emerging Diseases, which is expected to be launched within this year. So the center will serve as regional hub to strengthen ASEAN regional capabilities to prepare for, prevent, detect, and respond to public health emergencies and emerging diseases. Another important centers that has been operationalized during this pandemic time is the ASEAN Biodiaspora Virtual Center. And through the center, ASEAN has actually started disseminations of risk assessments since the onset of the COVID-19 in 2020. And this center actually can also be utilized, further utilized in the future to garner timely risk assessment on infectious diseases, epidemics and pandemics, and also inform the policy decisions on public health measures. And we also have several networks that are in place that also do joint assessment on related issues. So this network, for example, are the ASEAN Emergency Operations Center Network, as well as the ASEAN Biosafety and Biosecurity Network. And another major work that ASEAN has done is in terms of strengthening regional surveillance. And this has been supported by laboratory capacity in sequencing genomic of COVID-19 virus. So ASEAN has what we call the ASEAN COVID Genomic Projects, as well as the ASEAN-wide anti-COVID-19 serosurveillance study. So these are aimed to provide a real-time ASEAN-centric COVID-19 phylogenetic tree and virus genome analysis to enhance ASEAN member state regional surveillance capacity, as well as capacity building on accelerating diagnostic access. And finally, I think the presenter from WEO mentioned earlier about the emergence of zoonotic diseases. ASEAN has also undertaken, has put in place, established is currently working in towards establishing the ASEAN Coordinating Center for Animal Health and Zoonosis. The agreement has actually been signed and ratified by all AMS, And then they have also developed the guideline on the preventions of transmissions of zoonotic diseases from wildlife trade. So it is hoped that this center can come into operation soon. And in addition, we also have the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, which is currently developing the study on biodiversity-focused surveillance mechanisms on zoonotic diseases in order to further prepare ASEAN from future pandemics. Next slide, please. So I would like to conclude that actually the COVID-19 pandemic has actually built a strong foundation for ASEAN to move forward and in order to prepare the region in facing the threat of pandemics. And ASEAN actually has reflect on past lessons that have learned through various initiatives that has been put in place, and actually has equip us better in order for us to respond to epidemic and pandemic. I think since 2003, ASEAN has faced the outbreak of SARS and H1N1, and then this has resulted in numerous cooperation schemes, such as the launch of the ASEAN assessments of national multi-sectoral pandemic preparedness and response, as well as ASEAN cooperation on animal health, among others. And this initiative has been carried over for even after 2003, and work continues in terms of enhancing laboratory, equipping epidemiology training network, and ensuring risk assessment and risk communications. In order that has actually enhanced capacity of health professional in the region in the face of COVID-19 pandemic and also beyond. So moving forward, health crisis, I think is also being clearly mentioned earlier, that health crisis is multidimensional. It's not only about health sector. It's also affecting other dimensions of the society and the economy. And then it's also a cross-cutting with different aspects of life, including social issues, labor issues, and gender issues that are also being affected. So this actually underlines the importance of cross-sectoral and multi-stakeholder partnership in order for us to prepare, respond, and mitigate further health crisis in the region, and in order for us to ensure inclusivity in public health policy responses and actions. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you to Dr. Abdul Jalil, who has delivered a comprehensive material describing the situations and strategy in the ASEAN. Ladies and gentlemen, now we open the session for question and answer. Let's take advantage of this opportunity. We will give a chance to 3 people first. To those who want to ask questions, I invite them to raise their hands using their respective Zoom facilities. You may also make use of the chat facility. Yes, please. I will see from the raised hand. Is there any? Okay. Okay. Okay, I already see. Let me check. I already see Ibu Mila Tejamaya first, and
yes. Dear Professor Kemal, may I ask now?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Thank you very much for all the presenter for your very interesting presentation. I am in particular, very interested with the presentation from National University of Singapore. It was mentioned that you have implemented various technologies to improve your health protocol implementation. Now, maybe we would like to get better information regarding financial effect of those implementation in your facilities. Could you please also give us a bit of information regarding the cost of the cost of the implementation of this that technologies, and then your maybe evaluation regarding cost and benefit analysis of the technology implementation. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to raise my question. Thank you, Professor Kemal.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
I think Dr. Tan, would you please?
Yes, thank you. I shall answer the question regarding the financial requirements in responding to the measures that we implemented. First, most of the measures, they require a high level of IT. Apologies. Most of the measures, they require a high level of information technology. These were not financial related. For example, crowd sensing. For example, tracking every student, every staff on campus. If they log into the Wi-Fi, we need to know that they are properly vaccinated, that they are in the correct zone, that they have done and reported their daily temperature screening and so on. These kinds of measures had no financial requirement into it. But our IT team, our computer center, had to work very hard, long hours, to implement all these measures. Perhaps the only direct financial issue really had to be, we basically gave everyone on campus, every student, every staff, one free testing kit to use every week for a period of, even now, it is still going on, voluntary. If they want to, they continue to test themselves, one kit every week, and this has been going on for at least 1 year already. Yes, that part is a big financial outlay. But again, the kinds of IT technology that we use had not been financially intensive. Also, a lot of work was required from the incident manager, the head of every department, having to do tracking and so on. So I suppose it is costly in terms of the time, the amount of time that we had to put in. I suppose you can also say it was costly in terms of facilities. A classroom that used to be able to hold 50 students, we could only now put in 15 students as opposed to 50 students. So we had to use a lot more of the facilities, and yes, there is an associated financial cost to it, but mostly no. Finance has not been an issue, except really for having to purchase and provide free testing kits to all students and staff. Thank you very much for your question.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Tan. Is there any raised hand or chat? Shall I have a question for Dr. Buddha? Is there any current estimate on the COVID-19 pandemic in the WHO, when actually we are going to shift the pandemic to endemic status. As you mentioned, there's a lot of emergencies and difficult situation, but is there any current estimate on that? Yes, Dr. Buddha.
Thank you very much, Professor Kamal. I think as a public health, this is the most interesting and puzzling question that the world has been facing. You know, for last several months, WHO and the Emergency Committee of the IHR, which has various experts from all over the world, they keep analyzing the variables in the COVID pandemic and come up with recommendations and also the scenarios. So the WHO came up with these three scenarios, which are of course standard. The one which says the COVID-19 pandemic can become endemic and we have to live with it permanently. And so we need to integrate the COVID-19 pandemic response, including case management, but mainly vaccination in our regular systems. But then there are other two scenarios also, which says that there will be on and off limited outbreaks of COVID-19 pandemic in new cohorts, in new populations which are vulnerable, for example, the new birth population or unvaccinated or immunocompromised or people with comorbidities, etc. And then the other extreme scenario says we need to continually analyze the emerging variants and the subvariants for understanding their transmission severity and anticipate another pandemic of COVID-19 if the transmission dynamics change really drastically. So these three scenarios WHO was working with for last several months, but more and more as we move forward, it appears that COVID-19 pandemic related measures, including surveillance, genomic sequencing, vaccination, etc., we need to integrate in part of our life, in part of our primary care, healthcare based approach, so that the life goes on and the COVID-19 is sort of mainstreamed. But having said that, the situation keeps changing every few weeks with the emergence of variants and subvariants. As of now, as you know, some parts of the country, world goes through increased transmission, but fortunately, because of the vaccination, booster doses, and also because of these characteristic of subvariants of Omicron, we do not have much hospitalization, severe cases, and deaths. But this is an open-ended question, I would say, Professor, and the research analysis will continue to guide us for the future. We need to remain prepared for any unforeseen eventuality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's why I asked these questions, because you know that at the moment, the subvariants, the current subvariants, still increasing in Indonesia at the moment, and Jakarta is the most, the highest cases for Indonesia, and we don't, it's very hard to predict when actually the low levels of the pandemics at the moment in Indonesia. Thank you very much, Dr. Buddha. Okay, we are waiting for any other raise hand or chat. If I may have one also question for Dr. Abdul Jalil. Yes, you already mentioned about Asian travel corridor. Yeah, this is very interesting. Is there any specific procedures already developed or functioning among the Asian member state? Thank you, Pak.
Yes, thank you, Prof, for the questions. Well, actually, the travel corridor, the objective is to facilitate national across countries to move around the region. But then at the same time, we noticed that now countries are already opening up their borders. What this ATCAF is aimed at is actually to work on one of the issues that they want to work on is in terms of the health certificates, ensuring that countries across ASEAN will be able to recognize the certificate being issued across vaccination certificate being issued across the member state, because I think at the beginning it was quite difficult for citizens across ASEAN to move from one country to another, because the requirements may differ from one country to another. And then there's a need for us to sort of like standardize the type of documents and then that are being used in order to prove their vaccination. So I think that that's something that ASEAN is currently working on. But then I think somehow we are being overtaken by the development that are being across the member state, because countries are already started to opening up, and some of the measures are actually being undertaken unilaterally by the member state instead. But this ATCAF is actually to help complement what actually has been undertaken by countries.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Abdul Jalil. Yes, I realized that a lot of students, migrant workers, especially from Indonesia, they would like to go abroad, but then we need a kind of harmonizing the procedures. I think that's quite very critical, I think. But you already mentioned about the plan, the strategy. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdul Jalil. Is there any raised question again? Yes. Ibu Nur Mufida Wulansari. Please, Bu.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity that gave to me. I want to ask to Mr. Buddha, how we can implement One Health approach that are mentioned before in the rural areas with regarding to sanitation, tobacco control, and livestock, and the affordability of technology that nowadays we face this problem during pandemic in a rural area. Yes, is there any experience from rural areas that have been successful in implementing of the One Health approach? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Kemal.
Yeah, Dr. Buddha.
Thank you, Professor, and thank you, Nur Mufda, for the question. I think this is the One Health is increasingly becoming the most important, and various things come under One Health, starting from integrated or coordinated surveillance, coordination with animal health sector on various aspects, but also areas like antimicrobial resistance, food safety, many other issues. The challenges in a One Health approach, everybody knows, and the biggest challenge are, I would say, three. First is coordination. I am happy to work in my office in my area, but I am not very happy to coordinate with others. That is what is happening everywhere. But unless we see that larger picture, that I need to coordinate with other colleagues to achieve my own goals. So one is coordination, then second is financing, because it requires lot of investment and efforts in preparedness, in coordination, and that is not coming. We see this kind of response of culling of chickens or culling of pigs only when there are events, but not in the preparedness. And then there are larger issues of compensation to farmers and compensation to people who work in the animal husbandries, etc. And the third challenge is of the governance. The health sector, as we deal with it, has limited role even within health in a federal structure. National ministries of health are there, and then in the federal structure there are provincial, state level or district level health authorities. So how can we expect health sector to coordinate with other sectors? So to address these challenges, there have been several progress, including now a quadriparty sort of coordination with WHO, FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, OIE, the Animal Organization for Health, and UNEP, United Nations Environment Program. Now, how that can materialize in the countries at national, subnational, and district level, that is a big question. And are there any good examples from any countries in rural areas? So, my hope is on this high-level Global Health Emergency Council and the Regional Health Emergency Council, where presidents and prime ministers will agree on certain actions of intersectoral coordination. Then respective ministries can implement it. So that is the first thing. And then, we have these regional platforms of different organizations, including what ASEAN mentioned, and then what WHO offers, where we can share lessons learned and experiences from different countries. For example, One Health World Congress is coming up in Singapore. I think it is in later part of the year, where all these different experiences will be shared. Each context, each country, each subnational level will have their own innovations, their own coordination mechanisms, their challenges, and how to address them. I really don't have any sort of significant or direct, concrete, good example to share with, but I will keep that in mind, and I will suggest to remain in touch with the One Health focal point in WHO Indonesia country office, through which we can share some good examples, and if required, we can also sort of organize a webinar on One Health with the grassroots people, with the district, subnational, rural colleagues to share and use that platform. That's what I would say. But as of now, I'm really hoping that following G20 and following this intergovernmental negotiating instrument, there will be better coordination, there will be better laws, regulations, because these are going to be legally binding, where we can have certain laws, rules, regulations for colleagues to work together. Thank you. Professor, you are mute.
Sorry. Apologize. Yes. There is one raised hand. Mbak Alia Hasfiarini. Please, Mbak.
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for great presentations. I have also a question for Dr. Buddha. So, as we know that the healthcare provision is overwhelmed during this pandemic, and there are some studies already found that the person-centered care seems to be neglected during this pandemic. But actually, the person-centered care is a very important dimension in the quality of care. So, I was wondering what the WHO recommendation or strategies for maintaining person-centered care, especially in essential healthcare like maternity care, for example, for during this pandemic or for future emergencies. Hope that's clear. Thank you.
May I respond, Professor?
Yes, Dr. Buddha.
So person-centered care or people-centered care is a very important concept and approach which pins around primary health care and universal health coverage. And for last few years, I would say last 5 years, WHO has been really working hard to strengthen people-centered care. Because increasingly we keep saying that primary health care is the way forward, is the most efficient, cost-effective approach. Primary health care can take care of most of the essential public health functions. Investment in primary health care makes sense, but when we have fever or when we have mild issues ourselves, we go directly to the specialist. And the specialist of, say, heart or specialist of ear, nose, throat, whatever, they will work in their own silos, and if they have to deal with issues beyond their expertise, they will refer to the concerned specialist. So we really need to have this primary health care, which is really a people-centered approach, and then referral system, which is a gatekeeper. If I have certain symptoms, I go to the nearest primary health care clinic or primary health care physician, and based on he or she would evaluate me and then take appropriate actions, including of investigation, referral, etc. So that I don't end up flooding the secondary and tertiary care for my little symptoms. At the same time, if I have certain severe disease, then I should not be neglected. So the answer to people-centered care or person-centered care approach is investment in primary health care. And by that, I mean investment in primary healthcare workforce, not just infrastructure, not just technology, but the workforce. They must have skills and competencies that can take the person in a holistic manner and evaluate the person with keeping the health promotion, health prevention aspects in mind. I will just give one example that people who have diarrhea, the WHO recommends that don't just start immediately with the antibiotic. Just start with the ORS, oral rehydration solution. most of the diarrhea which are viral are auto-cured in its own cycle in 2 to 5 days. But if you go to a physician, immediately you get an antibiotic, which results globally, regionally in antimicrobial resistance. So the person-centered care also needs to invest in the education of communities, health promotion of the communities, respectful behavior, responsive behavior, responsible behavior. So it's a very comprehensive approach where district level, state level, provincial level, and national level governments have to work together. National policies should support it. The provincial and the district health authorities need to invest and implement it. The health workforce, which is doctors, nurses, and allied healthcare professionals, need to be fully educated and fully mindful about this person-centered approach. The health financing, we are currently in a inverted pyramid. We keep investing in the tertiary care hotels like corporate hospitals, but we do not invest in the fundamental pillar, foundation of health system, which is primary healthcare. And that's why this inverted pyramid needs to be corrected. It should be like this, where most of the resources, financial, human, technological, infrastructural resources should go at the primary healthcare level, which promotes person-based care. It's a long topic, long debate, and I welcome you to WHO website, where there are very good examples and recommendations for governments to implement person-centered care, which takes care of health quality, quality of life, and accreditation of various healthcare and laboratory facilities so that they can provide quality care. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Buddha. Ladies and gentlemen, since there is no other raised questions, raised hand, and yet, shall we close this question and answer session? And let's give a big round of applause to the speakers, and of course, to all of us. Now, I would like to say thank you again. Thank you very much to the speakers who have presented excellent and valuable materials. These materials have, of course, been documented by the committee, which will be part of the important outcomes of the this second ITTP meeting this year. These materials will be certainly be further processed to become important recommendations from this meeting. Thank you. I return the event to the MC or to the committee. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kemal, for guiding the plenary session. Also to our notable speakers, Dr. Nilesh Buddha, Dr. Tan Kai Chuan, and Dr. Ahmad Zafarullah Abdul Jalil. Once again, thank you for the insightful discussion.
We would like to invite Dr. Nilesh Buddha, Dr. Tan Kai Chuan, and Dr. Ahmad Zafarullah Abdul Jalil to have a photo session for documentation. Please keep the best smile and keep that for about 5 seconds. And we also would like to invite Professor Kemal to also come to the screen. And while waiting for the screen to be ready, we would like to also say thank you for all the participation during the discussion and a very interactive discussion that we had. We do really hope that all the insightful discussion can be really helpful and beneficial for the future.
We also would like to say thank you, a massive thank you to our sponsors, which are Novartis and Mandiri in Health. Thank you very much for supporting us this far.
I would like to also remind the participants to fill in the attendance form that already provided in the chat box.
Once again, we would like to invite Dr. Nilash Buddha, Dr. Tan Kai Chuan, and Dr. Ahmad Zafarullah Abdul Jalil to have a photo session for documentation.
Kindly open your camera so we can have your best pose and your best smile in the screen. Okay, so we are counting now in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Thank you, Professor Kemal. And thanks a lot, Dr. Tan Kai Chuan.
Honorable participants, we are reaching to the final stage of the opening ceremony of the second ITTP Covid-19. But before we close the opening ceremony, let us give you the glimpse of the agenda of our second day of teleconference.
Tomorrow we will have an important agenda that we will be having 3 policy group discussions that are expected to result some policy recommendations for Southeast Asian countries.
Tomorrow's policy group discussion will be about ASEAN requirement for electronic record sharing, health technology and industry resilience, developing health and safety promoting tourism in ASEAN for sustainable welfare improvement. Participants are expected to be actively involved in the discussion by giving comments and also feedbacks.
We would like to also remind you again to vote for the photography and infographic competition on our website www.ittp2022.org. Use your username and password to log in and find the voting menu.
You can also vote the infographic and photography competition by clicking on like in the Instagram account at ittp.2022. Also, kindly fill up a survey form in the link, and the link is given in the chat box, as we will be having some policy group discussion on our second day of teleconference. We aim to gather opinions regarding electronic health records sharing in the Southeast Asia. We will use this to develop a policy brief recommendation for ASEAN.
And at 1 p.m. Jakarta time, we will be having paper presentation sessions. Participants are expected to join the breakout room before the sessions begin. Please be ready, as presenters will have Q&A sessions, so you can have more interactive discussion during the session. So now we are going to close this opening ceremony by saying massive thank you to all of you, and
wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you tomorrow.